We're Truck 76 from the Menifee Lakes Fire Station.
And you're watching Report on Conditions.
This week, we take you to multiple vegetation fires and 2 plane crashes within the county, and our unit forester, Lynnette Short, explains the importance of prescribed burns.
Engine 1 with report on conditions.
Hi, I'm Alex Azaguirre, and thank you for joining CAL FIRE Riverside County Fire Department's Report on Conditions. For the past 2 weeks, from June 26th through July 9th, our firefighters responded to 7,855 calls for service, including 5,773 medical emergencies and 481 fire-related calls. Of the fire calls, 205 were vegetation fires and 45 were structure fires. Let's check out a few highlighted incidents from the past weeks. On Monday, June 26, at around 2:30 in the afternoon, firefighters responded to multiple reports of a vegetation fire in the 19,000 block of Santa Rosa Mine Road outside of Paris. The first on-scene battalion chief reported 5 to 8 acres burning in light flashy fuels at a critical rate of spread, prompting a request for 10 additional engines due to an immediate structure threat. Evacuations were ordered for several blocks, and warnings remained in place overnight to ensure the safety of residents. After about 3 hours, the forward rate of spread was stopped. Firefighters remained on scene overnight and into the following day, and the fire was completely contained to 68 acres by 5:30 p.m. on June 29th. One firefighter suffered a non-life-threatening injury and was treated on scene. There were no civilian injuries. At about 10 a.m. on Friday, June 30th, firefighters were dispatched to reports of a vegetation fire near Ironwood Avenue and Lance Lane in Moreno Valley. The first arriving engine reported a quarter acre of medium fuels burning at a slow rate of spread. After about 30 minutes, the fire grew to 4 acres and was now moving at a dangerous rate, prompting the request for multiple additional engines and air support. The forward rate of spread was stopped at noon, and the fire was contained to about 14 acres at 4 p.m. One firefighter was treated for a non-life-threatening medical emergency, and resources were on scene until about 9 p.m., strengthening containment lines. In the evening hours of Monday, July 3rd, multiple engines responded to a reported structure fire in the 41,200 block of Mackenzie Lane in Indio. The first medic unit on scene reported a single-story residence with heavy smoke and fire showing from one side of the garage, as well as a vehicle on fire. Firefighters successfully contained the fire to the vehicle and garage with no extension into the rest of the house. 2 adults and 2 dogs were displaced and assisted by the American Red Cross. Firefighters were on scene until after midnight, performing overhaul and mop-up. On Tuesday, July 4th at about 2 p.m., firefighters responded to a report of an airplane that had crashed in the 37,300 block of Industry Way in French Valley. Upon arrival, the first engine reported a small aircraft on its roof with parties trapped inside. 2 passengers were able to get out prior to our arrival, but 1 additional passenger had to be cut out of the plane. Unfortunately, 1 person in the airplane perished. The additional 3 patients were transported to an area hospital with injuries varying from major to minor. Units were committed for several hours, and the Federal Aviation Administration and National Transportation Safety Board took over the scene for investigation. On Tuesday, July 4th, at around 11:30 p.m., 911 dispatchers received multiple calls about trees on fire at a ranch property in the 49,500 block of Jackson Street in the city of Indio. The first engine to arrive confirmed 3 large buses and several eucalyptus trees burning that were threatening nearby businesses and residences. Due to winds and lack of fire hydrants in proximity to the ranch, firefighters used a system of relay pumping to get enough water to the location. In total, 3 large buses and 2 acres of vegetation were burned. Firefighters remained on scene until about 4 a.m., performing extensive mop-up. No residences were destroyed and no civilians, firefighters, or livestock were injured. On Wednesday, July 5th at 9 a.m., firefighters were dispatched to a report of trees on fire near Lincoln Street and Avenue 64 in Mecca. The first engine responding reported a visible column of smoke and immediately requested 4 additional engines. Once on scene, the engine company officer advised there were 2 acres of vegetation burning at a moderate rate, with a potential for 50 acres. An elementary school in the area sent their students and staff home for the day because of the heavy smoke and proximity of the fire to the school. Fortunately, firefighters stopped the forward rate of spread by 12:15 p.m. The Imperial Irrigation District responded to assist with some power poles that were damaged, which resulted in temporary power shutoffs for neighborhoods in the area. Firefighters remained on scene overnight and into the next day working on mop-up, and the fire was fully contained to 39 acres on July 6th at 5 p.m. On Wednesday, July 5th at around 4 p.m., dispatchers received multiple reports of a vegetation fire near the intersection of Day Street and Cajalco Road in Mead Valley. The first arriving engine had visual on several acres burning at a moderate rate of spread, with light winds in the area. With the heavy air and ground assault, the forward spread of the fire was stopped at 5:45 p.m. with no structures destroyed. Firefighters worked overnight and into the next evening to fully contain the fire to 56 acres. There were no injuries to civilians or firefighters reported. On Thursday, July 6th at 3:30 in the afternoon, firefighters responded to a vegetation fire near Frogs Leap Street and Butterfield Stage Road in unincorporated Temecula. The first engine in the area reported seeing 3 acres burning but were having difficulty accessing the fire's location. Over time, the fire grew to 7 acres and began threatening structures, at which point the incident commander ordered an aircraft response, 10 additional engines, 4 hand crews, and 3 water tenders. Thankfully, firefighters kept the fire from spreading into any residences, and the fire was contained by the following afternoon to 33 acres. In the early morning hours of Saturday, July 8th, firefighters responded to a report from Riverside County Sheriff's deputies that an airplane had crashed into a field near Briggs Road and Ald Road in French Valley. The first arriving engine reported a 2-engine small aircraft downed in a field fully involved with fire, which had spread to nearby vegetation. Tragically, all 6 passengers aboard the aircraft perished at the scene. The vegetation fire was contained to 2.5 acres. Firefighters remained on scene awaiting arrival of the Federal Aviation Administration and National Transportation Safety Board for investigation.
Did you know that the lush green annual grass growing in your yard could be putting your home at risk for wildfire damage? With the recent increase in rainfall, seasonal grasses are growing quickly, and when they dry out, they become fuel for wildfires. Don't wait until it's too late to protect your home. Visit rvcfire.org for information on how to create defensible space and reduce the risk of wildfire damage.
Engine 9, set up for structure protection at Deal Peak Road. I'm Bill Weiser. I'm the fire chief here at Riverside County Fire Department in the CAL FIRE Riverside Unit. I'm here to remind all of our homeowners that we had a bit of rain this year, and that means our annual grass crop is thicker than we've seen over the last few. Please, let's work early at getting clearances around our home so your family's safe, my firefighters are safe. And for questions or instructions on being able to do that, visit our website at rvcfire.org.
Hi, my name is Lynnette Short, and I'm the Unit Forester for CAL FIRE Riverside County's Fire Department. One of my responsibilities is the prescribed burn project management for our vegetation management program. Before we came out to assess this burn project, we sat down as a team. We look on a map and we look at the burn plot. We look at the control lines, we look at where we're going to burn, and then we also look at the species that are present, and then we talk about the overall game plan of what we're burning and managing for out here. The main premise of this project is habitat restoration, namely any of the species that thrive in grassland habitat.
Prescribed burns for us are a really great management tool. We get a lot of bang for the buck, essentially. We get a lot of management done. We have a lot of invasive species, mostly invasive grasses, and burning is the easiest, most cost-effective way to quickly get rid of those.
The work with CAL FIRE really helps reduce the thatch layer. The non-native annual grasses, as they die, they start piling up, and that dead layer becomes very thick of just dead grass material. So we got to remove that layer so that our native plants can seed and reproduce properly in those areas.
One of the things that we were concerned about is the buckwheat. There was enough fuel moisture left in it this season. It's pretty green due to the rainfall, and we're hoping that it, for the most part, will stay intact through the burn because it's going to be a super low intensity burn.
So those are species that are native to California, and in particular to this region, and they're very beneficial to the wildlife. Birds, different reptiles, our Stevens kangaroo rat, they rely upon that coastal sage scrub community in order to thrive in our area. So we try to protect as much as the native species that we can while conducting these prescribed burns.
So What I'm seeing out here is a real low intensity burn. What is really beneficial is that we were able to keep it a low enough intensity to keep the buckwheat intact. We accomplished the main objective by getting the run of the grasses down and getting that habitat back to its natural state. And that's going to allow for the native grasses to be able to reseed a lot easier than they would have with all these non-native grasses that were out here.
Restoration is vital, and CAL FIRE really helps with restoring a huge area quickly with the prescribed burn.
That's it for this week's Report on Conditions. Be sure to follow at CAL FIRE RRU on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook to stay up to date on incidents as they happen. Did you happen to capture any pictures or videos of our firefighters in action? If so, please send them our way at rrupio@fire.ca.gov. On behalf of your CAL FIRE Riverside County Fire Department Public Affairs and Community Education Bureau, I'm Alex Izaguirre. Thanks for watching.